morning, good afternoon, and good evening to everyone across the globe. My name is Cheska Aryan, and it is my pleasure to open up this workshop today as I'm honored to be part of Collabra and Cognicia's global team, the host for this evening. Collabra is the world's leading talent transformation company. And as a total talent solutions company, we provide various services ranging from on-demand talent solutions, engineering solutions, training solutions, and of course, our very own Jump, Hire, Train, Deploy solution. With our in-house learning arm, Cognixia has around 7,000 plus industry veterans as trainers and have trained about 150,000 plus professionals all across the globe. Not only do we provide competitive training rates, we have a more holistic approach in providing a solution to bridge the current demand and supply gap in our labor market as of the moment. If you want to learn more about Collabra's services, you can visit our global website at www.collabra.com. So one of the programs we conduct as a contribution to the ever-evolving digital market is the webinars we conduct like so. So today's workshop is all about administering AWS infrastructure. So what should we expect from today's workshop? So apart from the AWS focused discussion, you will get a certification as proof of participation. We will also be giving out exciting prizes post the webinar. With this, we encourage you to please join and participate all throughout. Before I pass it on to our speaker, if you do have any questions or feedback regarding the workshop, you can reach out to our webinar support team. You can email them at webinar@cognisia.com. So thank you, everyone, and please do enjoy the rest of the workshop. Over to you, Sanjay.
I hope I'm audible to all of you. So guys, we are going to discuss about infrastructure which we are going to use into AWS and how you will administer AWS infrastructure. So this would be our objective for today's webinar. Now, let me introduce myself first, then we will start this webinar. If there would be some queries from your side, you can raise your query after this webinar. We will give you a time for question and answer. So where you can put your queries and I will try to answer to your queries. And you can write your queries also to our webinar support team, where you can write your queries and we will get back to you. Now, during this webinar, you will get some poll questions and you need to select one correct answer for those poll questions. Now, my name is Sanjay Singh and I would be your technical host who is going to cover this technical webinar on AWS. So I have 13 years plus of experience into IT training field as well as into production environment. So I have certifications in the same domain. I'm working as a cloud consultant. So I have certification into AWS cloud, where I have certification as a cloud practitioner, cloud solution architect, cloud solution architect as an associate and professional both level. And apart from this AWS domain, I have certification in Azure cloud as well, where I have certification into Azure fundamental, Azure security, Azure administrator, Azure architect. So these are the certifications which I'm holding in cloud domain in various technologies. Now, apart from AWS and Azure domain, apart from this cloud domain, I have certification into Windows Server domain as well, where I have certification into Windows Server family, like I have certification into Windows Server 2008, 2012, 2016, and I have certification into MCSE in Windows Server. Now, apart from this server domain, I have certification into Cisco as well. I have certification into Hawaii as well. So I am an MCT also, Microsoft certified trainer, and I am a Hawaii certified trainer as well. So these are the technical certifications which I am right now holding. Now, so it's a brief introduction about me. Now, let me start our session where I'm going to explain you technologies, components which we can use, through which you can enhance your knowledge and which you can use to deploy your resources on cloud, basically. So let me start with webinar agenda, which is administering AWS infrastructure. So if you are from infrastructure background, if you are a developer, if you are an infrastructure admin, if you are a system admin, backup admin, Windows admin, network admin, so you can use AWS infrastructure to deploy your resources, to manage your resources, or to manage your organization resources. So in this webinar session, we are going to discuss about these are the topics: objective, what is cloud, what is AWS, then EC2, which is a component here, then Elastic Beanstalk, S3, and then there would be a small demonstration on S3 through which you would be able to understand how to access and create S3 bucket, which we will discuss into this webinar. Let me start with, first of all, what is cloud? So basically, we are going to start with Amazon history. In Amazon history, first of all, before starting this, so let me tell you, in 1994, Jeff Bezos, who is the CEO of this company, this organization, Amazon.com. So Jeff Bezos, who incorporated the company in 1994, officially, now Amazon is launched in 1995 as a bookstore. So officially Amazon.com launched in 1995 as a bookstore, as an online bookstore. Then in 2005, they published Amazon.com, which was launched in 2005, and officially it was launched in 2006. Officially, AWS is launched into 2006. So 2007, they have launched Kindle, which was launched in 2007. Then they have launched Amazon Fresh in 2011. Sorry. In 2011, they launched Amazon Fresh. In 2012, they launched Amazon Games. 2012, they launched Amazon Game Studio. Then 2013, in 2013, they launched Amazon Art, which was launched in 2013. Now, Amazon Prime, which we are using right now. So nowadays we are using Amazon Prime. So Amazon Prime was launched in 2014. In 2015, they launched Amazon Home Services and Amazon Echo, which were launched in 2015. So it's a history of Amazon. It's a transition of Amazon from 1994 to 2015, and the innovation is continuously going on. So it's 2000 and Amazon.com, which is launched as a new shopping website. So and they was struggling with the high availability and scalability issue in their own data center. So there was a jumble mess in their data center. There was no proper white paper planning. There was no planning for their data center. So they come up with a solution. What was the solution? So solution is tools, which becomes a well-documented API. So they're ingenious. So they have done one. They have invented one tool through which they have delivered. They have deployed their infrastructure through the well-documented API. But still, now through well-documented API, they have deployed their infrastructure, but they are struggling with their existing infrastructure in terms of compute, database, and networking, just because they all are separated. They all are separated, hosted. So there was no proper planning. So there was individual team who was managing those data center, who were managing those data center, and it took like 3 months to build one database data center, one compute resource, network resource. So there was no planning, and they have huge infrastructure. In 2006, what they have done, they have tried to sell their existing infrastructure, which they are not utilizing, to public. So and that is the concept where AWS comes in picture, and they have started selling their existing infrastructure to the customers publicly. Why? Just because that is the concept of cloud computing. Now, what it does mean by cloud? Cloud means if I'm going to deploy or create one data center in my organization, so what I will do, I will purchase best to best hardware as per current industry requirement. I will purchase best to best hardware for my data center, which I will place inside my data center. So where I will use hardware which would be best in market. Now again, I can do one capital investment first, through which I will purchase hardware, but how much resource my applications they are utilizing. So might be they are not utilizing complete resource. Correct. So in that case, there would be wastage. Correct. So that's why cloud come in picture, where you can deploy your resources, you can run your application on the required hardware, so that you will get scalability, you will get high availability, and you don't need to pay extra, and you don't need to do some upfront investment. You don't need to invest capital into your organization first. where you can focus on your business continuity. Correct. So that is the concept of cloud. So if you are using cloud, you will get programmable resources. What it does mean, it means if I have a developer who need a customized resource, where and I need a customized resource as per my compliance. So due to compliance, I need to create one application similar to on premises. I will get the same resources on cloud, where I can customize my resources as per my requirement, where I can procurement, I can deploy my resources as per organization demand, as per compliance demand. You will get the dynamic abilities where you can deploy your resources and you can monitor your resources. So after monitoring your resources, you would be able to understand, and you can anytime scale up or scale down your resources into cloud, into AWS cloud. And the best thing is pay as you go. What it does mean, resources are on demand. So whatever resource you will use, you will get billed only for, you will be billed for only the resource which is utilized by you. So you only pay for the resource which you are utilizing. Correct. So there would be no wastage, and you only pay for the resource which is utilized by you. What other advantages does the cloud offers, we will discuss in next slide. So where we have first option, first tab, and first feature, trade capital expense for variable expenses. What it does mean, now instead of having to invest heavily in data centers, as I told you, to servers or to networking, to maintenance, what you can do, you will get the same resource on cloud, where you can deploy your resource and you don't need to manage a data center, you don't need to manage a system, you don't need to manage a networking, maintenance, backup, power, cooling. You only need to use your service, and you will pay only for that service. You only pay for the resource which is consumed by you, which is utilized by you. So that is called trade capital expense for variable expenses. Now, economic of scale. So benefit for massive economic of scale, what it does mean. So it means whenever we are going to do some, when we are going to deploy some resources, or if I am a fresher, or I'm a beginner into IT field, or I'm a startup organization into IT field where I need to establish my data center, or as per my current application development, I need to purchase a hardware, so which will be suitable for my current deployment or for my current project which I'm going to deploy in my data center. So I need to do some capital investment in that. Okay, so rather than doing capital investment, what we can do, we can purchase cloud resources where we can focus on business continuity. So rather than investing capital into your resources, into your infrastructure, what you will do, you will use cloud service where you can deploy resources on cloud, and whatever resource you will use, you have to only pay for that resource. So larger business scale, so through which your business will be grow in size. Okay, just because as per demand, all resources are available as per industry standard, you will get all the resources. Stop guessing about capacity. Now, what it does mean, so when you make capacity decisions, so prior to deploying an application, so you often end up with either setting up expensive idle resources. So if I will, like if I need to deploy one 2-tier application, correct. So what I will do, as per my application infrastructure, basically we are creating on dev and test environment where we are hosting and deploying our application, and we are monitoring our application, that what would be the load on my application, and what would be a standard hardware requirement which is required to host this application on a server, so that you will get. But if you don't know what would be a standard hardware requirement for your application, no worries, you can host your application with downsize of hardware from cloud, and you can monitor your application. After monitoring, if you are getting some spike on your application, and if there would be some load on your application component, you can easily scale up and scale down, just because you're using cloud here, and scalability is the feature here on cloud which you will get. So resources are scalable, you can anytime scale up or scale down your resources into AWS cloud. Increase speed and agility. So you will be able to deploy your resources in a click. So with few click, you can deploy your resources, you can do new deployment, you can create new environment for your IT resources, for your developers, for your team. So and you would be able to deploy that in just minute and anywhere. Focus on what matter now. Rather than focusing on infrastructure, I can only focus what matters for my application. So what would be the resources which is required for deploying my application, like procurement, maintenance, capacity? So rather than focusing on that, we will only focus on our business continuity. So this would be also a feature here. Go global in a minute. Now, just because we are using cloud, AWS services, which is spread across the region, so you would be able to deploy your application in multiple regions around the world in just few clicks. So with few clicks, you would be able to deploy your application anywhere in region around the world. So this would be also a feature which you will get into cloud computing. Now, AWS data centers. When it comes to data center, what it does mean, just because whenever you will launch any application and whenever you are going to use any infrastructure from AWS, so basically those resources will be deployed inside one data center in AWS region. So you will select one region first. So there is a concept which is known as a region. So you will select one region which represents one geographic location. Inside that region, there would be data centers. So these data centers, like inside a region, there would be more than one data center due to compliance. Correct. There would be multiple compliance regularity, which is auditing AWS data centers as well, which you can check with the blueprints, which is available on AWS document, where you can check reference document, and through which you would be able to see all the reports which is provided by different auditing vendors. So like ISO, PCI, so you can check any report, you can check VAPT reports as well. So which is done by AWS on their data centers. So those reports you will also get. So these the resources on AWS are compliant resources. So due to compliance, you will get more than one data center, so that you will get the high availability environment in that region. So region which represents one geographic location. So it represents one geographic location in which you will get multiple data centers. Now these data centers are represented by AZ. AZ means availability zone. So inside one region, there would be multiple availability zones. These availability zones represent individual data center, and which will be isolated from other data center. Now they all will be isolated in terms of hardware, networking, power, and cooling. They have separate networking, they have separate power, they have separate power cooling. So in case of failure, disaster, if any data center will be down, still if you are using high availability environment, your application is highly available in multiple availability zone, in multiple data center, your application will be live and up from other availability zones, and they all are interconnected with each other through high fiber link. So you will get high throughput and low latency link through which they all are paired, they all are connected, and they all are separate, they all are using separate hardware. So you will get isolated data availability zone or data center. So availability zones, as I told you, inside one region there will be multiple availability zones, so which are known as data centers, individual data centers or isolated data centers, so that you can create one highly available application in that particular region. So you will get high availability. Now in case of region failure, might be there would be some natural disaster to your region, that particular region. So if your region will be down, that means inside that region there would be multiple data centers, they all will be down in the same time. So there would be downtime for your application. So what you can do, you can host your application, you can create one disaster recovery environment or solution for your application, where you can host your application in secondary region, and you can configure failover, where you can specify RTO and RPO for your application. And then if there would be some disaster to your primary region, there would be failover and your application will be up and running in secondary region. You can do that also, but this would be dependent on my application. My application is how much critical. So this disaster recovery scenario, it comes when you are going to architect something. So you need to check all the aspect, you need to check, you need to understand the criticality of your application as well. So your application is how much critical, how critical is application as per my business criticality, is as per my business application criticality. What I will do, I will design one solution. So in case of availability zone failure, in case of region failure, in so how I will protect my application and how I will do a failover. So this would be an example here. Reasons, as we have discussed, AWS have reason in which you will get multiple availability zones. So these availability zones are isolated data centers. They all are isolated data center. They all have separate hardware. They all have separate racks, power, cooling, maintenance. So they have isolated environment, but they all are paired with each other through high fiber link. So through which you will get high throughput and low latency. Regions, global regions. So you can see this image in which you can see the global presence of AWS. So AWS with cloud, which is spanned on 81 availability zones within 25 geographic regions around the world. And there are upcoming regions also, and upcoming availability zones also, which will become in future. And this number will be increased. Now, apart from regions and availability zone, AWS have 218 plus as locations and 12 regional as cache. So I'm going to explain you what it is. So a quick introduction about this, how you will use this and where you will use these as locations. So as we are saying that AWS have one global network. So when I'm saying global network, so AWS have their POP locations, point of presence location. So local locations where they have their own network routing, as well as they have their partner routing as well. That is, there would be some third party whom with AWS have done routing, and AWS is using their network to route their traffic. So they have third party the association as well. So these locations, these POP locations are known as locations, which will be nearest to user in that particular region. So there would be a 218 plus as locations and 12 regional cache. Regional cache in those regions. So let me give you one example. Like my application, which is in US East, which is hosted in US East. And currently I'm logged into US East. Okay, so my application is hosted in US East, but I will get traffic from across the globe. So might be I'm getting traffic from India, might be I'm getting traffic from UAE, might be I'm getting traffic from UK. Correct. So and from Europe, and Australia, from Africa. So these are the countries from where I'm getting the traffic on my application. So user who is in India, if he is sending any traffic, any request to my web application, he will face some latency issue. Correct. So if my user across the globe, if they are facing some latency issue and they are accessing or they are streaming some content, like let's suppose this website is online a movie website where user can watch movies, online movies, they can stream videos. So if they are streaming video, then definitely they will face some buffering issue, they will face some latency issue. So how I will resolve this issue? What I can do, just because AWS have edge locations, so in each region they have edge locations which will be nearest to your user location. So in India, let's assume like in India we have two locations. Let's assume like we have location into Mumbai, we have location into Delhi. Correct. So my user query will be routed to nearest edge location, and I need to use here one service in front of my application, which is known as CDN, content delivery network, and in AWS that is known as CloudFormation. Sorry, CloudFront, not CloudFormation. CloudFormation is a tool to automate your environment. So CloudFront. So AWS you will use CloudFront to route your request to these edge locations. So whatever query is done by your your end user query will be sent to first of all edge location server, where in each edge location there would be edge servers which are going to cache your content. So content which is accessed by one user. So if the content is in edge server, this will be served locally to your user. User will not face any latency issue. But if this content will be not in your edge location, this request will be sent to your regional cache server. So there would be regional edge caches. So this request will be sent to your regional edge cache server. Your edge cache server will check its database. If the data is available, if the request content is available in edge location, this will be served to your user. And again, as compared to my hosted, my origin server, latency would be less. Now again, if there would be no content, then this request will be sent to CloudFront, and CloudFront will check with origin server, and this will be served to your end user, and this will be saved into your regional cache, and your edge cache, and there would be TTL. TTL, when your content will be older, then it will remove those contents which is cached by your edge servers and your regional edge servers. So if in the same time, if any user 2 who is requesting for the same content, like on Friday in India, so on every Friday there would be a new movie which will be launched. So right now movies are launching on OTT platform. So users, they're watching movies through online streaming, correct, through one platform, which could be Netflix or Amazon Prime, or there are multiple platform OTT platforms from where they can watch or stream videos. Now if users are streaming, that means they will face latency. So your content will be cached to your nearest location, and users who are going to access these contents, so first user will face latency issue. Rest, if any user is going to access same content, he will not face latency issue, just because content will be served from nearest edge server, and that is saved in your nearest edge server database. That is the concept of edge server, where you can use edge locations to improve your performance, your application performance, to reduce latency of your application. You can use CloudFront CDN services, where you will use AWS regional cache or AWS edge locations. Next topic, which is EC2, Amazon EC2. Now, what is EC2 basically here? So that is known as Elastic Compute Cloud. When we are saying elastic, it means it already defined with this word elastic, already defined resources we can scale up and scale down easily. So what would be the use cases here for using EC2? So before discussing about EC2, we need to understand on-premise structure, infrastructure, so which would be similar to EC2. Now in on-premise data center, where I can use different virtualization tools, services, like I can use ESXi from VMware, or I can use Hyper-V, or I can use Citrix Gen Server as a hypervisor inside my data center, where I can create my virtual machines. So by using these hypervisor technologies, I can deploy my virtual machines inside my data center, and which I can, where I can host my application, as compared to on-premise, as compared to your physical data center for organization. If you need the same control over cloud, so on cloud we have there are service model. There are three service model in cloud, so which is the fundamental of cloud basically. So we have infrastructure as a service, which is a service model here. We have platform as a service. We have software as a service. So what I can do, I can use one infrastructure service where I will get one virtual machine as compared to my on-premises. So the same feature I will get into AWS as a EC2. I can use EC2 instance, which you can understand like your on-premise virtual machine. So I can use VM, which will be provided by Amazon. So whatever configuration I will select for my virtual machine, whatever image means, like I can select, I can deploy one Windows virtual machine, I can deploy one Linux virtual machine, and Linux we have different distribution. I can use Mac OS as well, which is also supported now on AWS cloud virtual machine. So you can use Mac OS as well. So you can use Red Hat, Debian, SUSE, Ubuntu. These are the distributions, different distributions for Linux, which you can use and you can deploy your virtual machine. Similarly, I can use Windows Server 2012, 2016, 2019 virtual machine, where I can use different flavors. I can use data center, I can use core. So you will get different editions of Windows Server as well, which you can use. And by using those images, you can deploy your virtual server in cloud, which is known as EC2 here. So now I can deploy one EC2 instance as per my application requirement, where I can specify that I'm going to use one virtual CPU and 1 GB RAM. This would be initial requirement for my application, and later I will monitor my application. If there would be spike, there would be load, and my users who are facing performance issue on to as per my application. So what I will do, I will scale up this resource anytime. I can scale this resource at any time, and I can increase number of virtual CPUs and RAM anytime. So you will get more control over the infrastructure in infrastructure as a service resource, which would be EC2. So AWS will give you one instance where you will get your operating system, your OS, Windows or Linux as per your selection. Now, inside this virtual machine, you would be responsible, 100% you would be responsible to manage your application, to host your application content, to manage your runtime, to manage your services. If this would be Windows Server, so to install .NET application, first of all, I need to install IES Server. So installing IES Server, managing and configuring IES Server, I would be responsible. For installing my or hosting my .NET application, I would be responsible. So for each and everything, I would be responsible inside this virtual machine, and you will get more control as compared to other services, other platform. So if I'm going to use PaaS, on PaaS, you will get less control as compared to EC2. Why? Just because in PaaS, you will get ready to use environment, recommended environment. So as per your selection, and when you will use PaaS service, I will explain you. I will give you one use case and example, so you would be able to understand that also. Let me first of all finish this use cases for this EC2 instance, where you can use EC2 instance. So you can use EC2 instance for web hosting, for database hosting, for authentication purpose, and for anything a server can do. So inside your on-premise, as you are configuring server, so what a server can do in on-premises, same you can configure on Amazon EC2. Same thing you can configure on Amazon EC2. Now let's come to PaaS. When I will use PaaS solution, so basically, when I'm a developer, let's assume I'm a developer, I'm not from infrastructure background, and I don't know how to create VPC, how I will create multiple subnets, how I will filter my traffic through security groups, how I will use my load balancer inside my environment. That means I do not have knowledge about infrastructure, and I'm a core developer. So who know how to develop one application, but he requires one infrastructure where he can deploy his codes. So in that case, this infrastructure as a service, EC2 instance would be not a good choice. Why? Just because developer doesn't know anything about infrastructure. So what he will do, he will use PaaS solution, where you can use ready to use recommended infrastructure which is provided by AWS, and you will get the complete transparency. So you can see whatever infrastructure is deployed by AWS, you would be able to see that infrastructure. You only would be responsible for your runtime. So if I'm a developer, I will select my runtime, like my runtime would be for my application would be Tomcat, Java, Python, Ruby, PHP. Correct. So as per my requirement, I will select one runtime, and as per my selection, I will specify which environment I need. I need Linux-based environment, or I need Windows-based environment. So Windows-based environment is also supported now. IIS is also supported on AWS. So you can host one .NET application also on AWS PaaS solution, PaaS applications. So you will get one PaaS solution where AWS would be responsible for complete for infrastructure, for your load balancer, for VPC, everything would be done. You need to focus on your code. So your data, your code, your runtime, you would be responsible for. Runtime would be also given by AWS. For your data, for your application code, you would be responsible. For your access and authentication, you would be responsible for your application. So as compared to virtual machine, you will get less control over PaaS infrastructure, PaaS solution. Next, virtual machines. So if I'm going to create virtual machines, so what would be the features which I will get in my virtual machine based environment? So Amazon EC2 can solve some problems that are more difficult with an on-premise server when using disposable resources. So whenever you need to create one dev and test environment, whenever you need to test some new thing, so and your developer, your team need to test some new components. So in production environment, in physical data center, this would be a challenge for us to test anything in the live environment. So on cloud, yes, we can test new thing. After testing, we can remove those things, the resources which we have utilized in our testing environment, in our dev environment. So first is data-driven decisions. So as compared to on-premises, even cloud, data-driven decisions means like I can collect data to understand my business requirement. So that you would be able to do, and you can analyze your application requirement. You can take decision on the basis of data which you are gathering. So you can collect your data, and through which you can take decision. You can do analytics. You can analyze your data, your application performance, and which component you need to use. Like on Flipkart, on Amazon, So if we have vendors which is associated to my application, my e-commerce web application, and they have different products, they have many products which they are selling. So what they can do after a year review, after 2 year review, what they can do, they can collect one data through which they can analyze, they can do analytics, through which they can understand that this is the product which is most browsed by a user, which is most accessed by a user, and this is the product which is purchased by most of the user. So as per this data, I can manage my application, I can manage my product, I can publish my product, or I can introduce my product on my website. So this kind of decision I can take through the data driven decision, and which would be easy on cloud. So you can easily gather your data, you can easily analyze your data, you can use analytics tool through which you would be able to analyze your data on cloud. Quick iterations, what it does mean, if your developers who need solution where they can deploy their resources as per the current software through the release process, which will allow rapid release to your users with the new features. You have new environment, you have new application which requires new hardware, new components as per industry standard. Yes, you can use cloud resources where you will get the resources as compared to on premises. You will get faster resources and faster feature as compared to on premises. And in AWS we have one tool which is known as cloud pipeline, AWS code pipeline, sorry, AWS code pipeline, which your developer can use, and they can deploy resources faster as compared to on premises. Now this topic I like most, this feature I like most, free to mistake. What it does mean, into on premises, if I need to learn something, there would be lots of challenges to learn some new topic, to learn some new service. Into on-premise department, I need to create lots of tickets, I need to get lots of approvals for that, and then once it will be approved, I need to take care lots of things, so that which will not impact my on-premise or my running my live applications. So there would be challenges to test anything into live environment. But in cloud, it's very easy. You can create your separate environment in cloud where you can test your resources, your new features. After testing, you can dispose easily. You can delete anything, everything which is deployed by you. So in cloud, you can do mistake, and we all know through mistake you will learn. So whenever you will do mistake, with mistakes you can learn new things. So yes, now there is a fear in all of us to do the mistake. Correct. So here you can do mistake on cloud, and you can learn new things on cloud, just because resources are on demand. So all the resources are on demand. If there would be some issue, there would be some bug, there would be some issue in my application, I can deprovision my application, I can delete my application, and I can relaunch the same environment many times, number of times. So just because of the resources are on demand, and I can do mistake on cloud, which would be challenging job in on-premise environment. Now let's come back to our Amazon EC2. You can see poll questions on your screen. So you need to select one correct answer for this poll question. Let me read out this question for you. So which of the following is the central application in AWS portfolio? So we have here four options, where Amazon EC2, Elastic Compute Cloud, Amazon Simple Queue Services SQS, Amazon Simple Notification Services SMS, and Amazon Simple Storage Services S3. So which would be a central application portfolio? You need to select one correct answer here. So poll is closed. So let me read this second question. Amazon Relational Database, which is a PaaS service into AWS, is a variant of the 5.1 database system. Now you have three options here: Oracle, MySQL, or SQL Server. So what would be a correct answer? You need to select only one answer, which would be correct in your terms. Now third poll question. So Amazon Simple Queue Services allows user to transit any amount of data through the web without which responsibility. So you need to select the responsibility, where we have four options: administrative and managerial, requesting, and solicited. So you need to select one correct answer, and I will give you answer after these questions, so you would be able to understand. You can check your knowledge after this poll. Yep. So we are done with this poll, and I hope you all have submitted your answers. So for first question, which is for EC2, okay, answer is EC2. That means the central application in AWS portfolio. Correct answer is EC2. Is Elastic Compute Cloud. For second question, Amazon Relational Database Services is a variant of the dash 5.1 database system. So the correct answer would be MySQL. So MySQL 5.1. Third question, which is for SQL service, answer would be administrative. So correct answer is administrative. So let me continue my session now. So when you are going to launch one application on infrastructure as a service, so when we are using infrastructure as a service, that means I'm going to use Amazon EC2 service. And as I told you, you have to select one operating system, which could be either Windows or Linux. So this operating system image that is binded into AMI, which is known as AMI, Amazon Machine Image. That is known as Amazon Machine Image. So basically, you have to select one AMI to launch your EC2 instances. So like you need to select one standard AMI, which would be for Windows Server 2016 or for Ubuntu 18.7 LTS or for Red Hat version 8 or 7, depends on your requirement, or for we have different distribution for Linux, so you can select those also. So we have SUSE also, you can select Mac OS also, depends on your requirement. So you need to select one standard AMI, Amazon Machine Image. Now after selecting this AMI, you would be able to launch multiple instances with the same AMI. So this would be a standard AMI, like a template. So this template you can use, in which you have your image, and you would be able to launch your instances, but you can launch multiple instances through this AMI. And later you will get one feature. Later what I can do after launching these instances, I can alter my image. When I'm saying alter, what it does mean. So if you are from infrastructure background, let me give you an example. So if we are from infrastructure background and we have knowledge of on-premise tools and services which we are utilizing to create images and to distribute images for our production environment. Let me give you one example, quick example. Like I'm using SCCM, System Center tool, System Center Configuration Manager, SCCM 2012 or 2016, depends on my requirement. So if I'm using a System Center tool, what I can do distribution. I can install images on my remote computer through SCCM. So where we have different options, I can use one standard template like this AMI, or I can use one customized template which I'm going to use for my deployment. Inside my deployment, I'm going to create identical servers. Like I'm going to create 5 identical servers. This would be a small example here, but in production there would be multiple servers which you're going to use for your deployment. So let's assume I need to deploy 5 servers which would be identical. So all the content, all services, all tools will be same on these instances which I'm going to use for my application. Now, if they all will be identical, what I should do on AWS, so I will create 5 instances, and then I will access those instances through RDP or through SSH or through NAT, depends on me. So, and depend on my compliance requirement. I will access those instances, and then I will install my tools, my services, my application. There would be some monitoring tool. There would be some agent which I need to install inside my application or inside my virtual machines as due to compliance. So I need to install those tools, which would be a standard for my application in all system, and they all will be identical. And my code, application code. Now everything I need to install and configure on each virtual machine manually. If I need to do this manually, there would be lots of effort which I need to do or which my admin need to do, and it would be a time taking process for my organization and for my deployment. What I can do to make my deployment faster and easier, just because they all have the identical configuration, So I will launch one instance with standard configuration, standard template, and then I will access one template. I will install my tools and services on this instance, and I will capture image of this instance, which is known as custom image. So I will create image, custom image of this instance, which would be a standard custom image for my deployment, for my requirement as per my production application. Now, through this image, I can launch multiple instances, and which will get same pre-installed tools and services and pre-configured application inside my EC2 instance. So I don't need to configure my servers individually. I have to only configure one server, and then I need to create image, and through that image I can launch as many as instances I need. They all will get same content, same services, same tools would be pre-installed inside my EC2 instance. Through this, I can save my time, effort, and my deployment would be easier and faster. I can do that also. And in SCCM, same thing I can do. I can create one reference computer, the reference virtual machine, in which I can install tools, and then I can capture image of this system, and which I can distribute to my new servers through network. That I can do through SCCM, or we have another tool into Windows Server, which is known as WDS, Windows Deployment Services, through which I can capture image and I can distribute my image with pre-configured setting to my new computers, to my new virtual machines. Let's come to next, where you can see a template, as I told you. So AMI is a template in which you will get your root volume. That means if I'm talking about Linux machine, so you will get root volume, or if I'm talking about Windows machine, you will get your boot volume data. Launch permission, you will get launch permission to launch one AMI. A block device mapping, there would be one persistent storage which will be mapped with your AMI, through which you will get your root volume, which is pre-configured inside this standard AMI template. Next, three ways to get your AMI. First, pre-built, that is standard template, which is provided by AWS. You can use AWS Marketplace, where AWS have tie-up with third-party organizations as well, and you will get third-party AMIs as well. If due to compliance, if I need to use Barracuda, if I need to use ASF firewall, if I need to use F5 load balancer, so we have AWS standard tools as well. We have AWS standard load balancers as well. We have standard firewall as well in AWS. Or if due to compliance I need to use these firewalls, these resources, which is third party, so AWS have third party association tie-up, you will get all those resources into AWS Marketplace. Or you can create your own AMI as well. As I told you, we can customize and we can create our custom AMI as well. Next topic, when it comes to developers rather than infrastructure admin. Now let's come to PaaS solution. So EC2 is a infrastructure as a solution service. When it comes to PaaS solution, platform as a service, so in AWS we can use AWS Elastic Beanstalk. As I told you, if I'm a developer, I don't know how to create one infrastructure where I can host my application. So what I can do in AWS, I can use PaaS solution as a AWS Elastic Beanstalk, where I need to specify my runtime. So provision and operates the infrastructure and manage the application stack for you. So AWS will provision and operates infrastructure which you need for your application, and AWS will manage your application stack where your infrastructure will be launched. So and recommended infrastructure, and you will get the complete transparency. So completely transparent, you can see everything that is created. That means whatever infrastructure is deployed by AWS, you would be able to see that these are the number of instances which is launched during this deployment, and there is a load balancer, there is a VPC, there is a security group. So all components you would be able to see, and later if you want you can customize as well. Yes, customize. And now this would be a benefit here into AWS. I will get infrastructure which is deployed by AWS, and I can customize my infrastructure. If I have knowledge, I can customize my infrastructure, just because I will get the complete visibility of my infrastructure which is deployed by AWS and which is managed by AWS for my application. impossible to outgrow, automatically scales your application, scale up and scale down. Just because infrastructure is managed by AWS, so you don't need to worry about the scaling part. You don't need to worry about your high availability just because everything will be managed by AWS. AWS would be responsible for that. You only need to focus on your business continuity. That means you need to focus on your application rather than focusing on your infrastructure. That is the benefit of a AWS Elastic Beanstalk. So this would be an example here where you would be able to understand if we are going with the responsibility model, where cloud provider would be responsible and client would be responsible. So being a client, what component I will manage or for which component I would be responsible, or being a service provider, AWS would be responsible for what resources. So you can see here, AWS would be responsible for your host computer, for your operating system, for your language interpreter, for your application server, for your HTTP server, and you would be responsible only for your code. User would be responsible only for the code, that is for application data. I would be responsible only for application data. Rest will be managed by AWS Elastic Beanstalk service. So this would be a feature here, a good feature here. If I am a developer and I don't know anything about infrastructure, I can on select my runtime and AWS will provision, it will deploy one recommended infrastructure, and later I can customize my infrastructure as per my requirement. So this would be an introduction to Elastic Beanstalk, where you can divide your application into microservices as well. Like I can use web server, I can use a worker instance and a web server instance. So like front end and back end. So it depends on my application architecture. Like if my application is 3-tier application architecture, where I need to create one front end, then what one back end, and there would be one DB tier. So there would be front-end tier, back-end tier, DB tier, or you can say web tier and app tier and DB tier. It depends on your organization, which terms you are using, which naming tags you are using to explain your 3-tier architecture. So I can create that also. I can use that environment also into Elastic Beanstalk. I can create web server and web worker server, which would be like as a backend for my application. So next thing, which is Amazon storage services, Amazon S3. Now, Amazon S3, if when it comes to storage part into AWS, let me give you a quick brief about AWS storage. So in AWS storage, we have 3 options which we can use for our application. Let's assume I'm using here EC2 instance where my application is hosted. So for storing my data on cloud, I have 3 options. I can use block device mapping, where I can use a persistent storage or an instance store volume. Okay, so persistent storage means where you can store your data permanently, and instance store volume means which would be like a ephemeral storage or a temporary storage. So where you can temporarily store your data. So we have 2 options into block device. So which is known as EBS, Elastic Block Store. Next option would be file share as compared to on-premises. If I have a file share, if I have a NAS device, network attached storage, where I'm using NFS to store or to share my data among multiple servers. So similar to on-premises, I have file share service into AWS where I can use NFS or FSX. 2 services which I can use, through which I can share my data among multiple EC2 instances if I need to, and also to on-premises as well. If I have hybrid connectivity, I can share to on-premises as well. So I can connect my storage to multiple EC2 instances where my data will be shared to all the instances which will be connected or where this storage will be mounted. So we have 2 options, NFS and FSX, which we can use as a file share. In cloud storage, in terms of cloud storage, where I have to store one unstructured data or static content I need to store for my application. So what would be the option in AWS cloud? We can use S3, simple storage services. So where I can store my data on S3, and which kind of data? I can store my unstructured data, I can store my binary data, I can store my blob kind of data, or I can store my static data like video, images, PDF file. So which would be which users who are going to stream videos through my web application, or they are going to access any PDF file, or they are going to access any image. So I, rather than storing those data into my my local database, I will store those database data into my cloud storage, and which I will link with my application. So storage for the internet. So when I'm saying internet, that means this would be accessible from anywhere through HTTP and HTTPS. So it's a natively online HTTP access, HTTP and HTTPS. You would be able to access your storage that allows you to store and retrieve any amount of data anytime from anywhere on the web. Just because this would be on web and we are going to access to HTTP and HTTPS, so you would be able to access from anywhere and anytime. Highly scalable, just because it's AWS managed service. It's an Amazon managed service. So if this would be an Amazon managed service, that means AWS would be responsible for durability, for scalability, for reliability. So everything will be managed by AWS. And there is SLA for this service. So highly scalable, highly reliable, fast and durable. And you will get durability in terms of number of nines. So like 11 nines, 12 nines, 16 nines. So these, through these nines you would be able to understand the SLA level which is provided by AWS for this particular service, just because we have different storage classes in which we can store data and which we will select as per our requirement. Just because of due to time restriction, I cannot explain all those storage classes and all the features of S3 here. So I'm going to give you one brief introduction to S3 so that you can understand S3. So as I told you, there would be different storage classes. So you can store your data into different storage classes, and there would be different pricing for storing your data or retrieving your data from different storage classes, which you will learn and understand into AWS courses. Now, common use cases for S3, where you can use S3 storage. So you can use for storage and backup purpose. You can use application file hosting. Now, best feature is you can use if you have to host one static application, like you have one HTML, CSS application, static application, and which you need to host. So rather than creating one virtual machine, rather than using one Elastic Beanstalk application, so you can use S3 also for hosting your static website. So you can host your static website. Media hosting, software delivery, store AMIs and snapshots. If you have some custom AMIs, you can store into S3. If you have snapshot of your EBS volume, you can store into S3. So these are the proper use cases for Amazon S3. If you have some compliance rule which state that you already have one on-premise data center, but as per the demand, you are now going to use or host your applications on cloud as well. So that means you have hybrid connectivity. So you already have an on-premise data center and which is connected with your AWS cloud account. So where you are going to host your applications on a few of applications on cloud, and there would be few of applications which would be inside your data center. Now, as per compliance rule, which state that I need to store, I already have one backup. So I'm backing up my data continuously on periodic basis for my data center. So which I'm storing inside my data center, and I'm taking data backup of my all resources just because of compliance. But compliance rules state second copy of backup. There would be one compliance rule which state second copy of backup should store on cloud. So if you have this kind of compliance rule which state that you need to store second copy of data on cloud, you can use Amazon S3, which would be the cheapest option and the best option to storing your backup data on cloud. Amazon S3 concept means for the tools and the terms which we will use in for S3. So S3 is a service which you will access. Now inside S3, if I have to store something, so if I need to store some data which is known as object here. So if I have to store some data inside my S3 storage, so my data is known as object here. Like if I'm going to store one image, which would be aws.jpg or cloud cloud.png or webinar.mp4, there would be a video, mp4 video, which I'm going to store. So all these data, they all are known as object here. So they will be individual objects. So they are known as object here in S3. So you're going to store one object, which would be one image, one video, one Excel file, one JPG file, any format data you can store as the object inside your cloud storage. So for storing this data, you need one container, so which is known as bucket here. So basically, for storing your object, you require one bucket. So bucket is a logical unit here, so which you can understand like a container. So inside this container, I can store my data, like as compared to your system hard drive. Inside my system hard drive, I have 1 TB storage, correct, where I can do partitions, and under those partitions, I can create multiple folders. Inside those folder, like there would be one partition which would be for movies. There would be one partition for data. There would be one partition for images. Correct. So these partitions you can understand like a bucket in which I can store my objects, where I can create folder or I can directly store my data inside that partition. It depends on my requirement. So similarly, I can create one bucket. Inside that bucket, I can create folder or I can directly store my objects. That is totally up to me. Now, so you have to create one bucket, which would be a logical unit here, and like a container where you can upload your objects. So after uploading your object, this would be the status bucket with objects. So you will get your bucket with objects, and once you will create your new bucket, so this would be known as an empty bucket where you can upload your objects later. Let me move to next. So pricing would be the main thing here to understand, just because as we are discussing here about cloud, and as I told you, whatever resources we are going to use, resources are on demand, and whatever resource I will use here, I need to pay for those resources. That means pay as per your uses. So that is the terminology of cloud. So if I'm using S3, that means I have to pay something. So what would be the factors which will affect my pricing? We need to understand for S3. So you will pay only for what you use. There would be no minimum fee, that means there would be no upfront cost. So price based on the location of your AWS S3 bucket. It depends in which region you have created your bucket. Pricing will vary as per the region. It's because in each region we have different hardware, different type of hardware. So estimate monthly bill by using AWS Simply Monthly Calculator. If you need to check, like I'm going to deploy one resource or one application into AWS for which I'm going to use multiple components, like I'm going to use 2 or 3 Ec2 instances, I'm going to use EBS storage, I'm going to use load balancer, I'm going to create one VPC, I'm going to use one S3 storage. So, and I don't know what would be the estimated cost for this. So if I need to check this, I can use AWS monthly calculator, through which I can select my resources which I'm going to deploy, which I'm going to use for my deployment. And then I will get one monthly estimated cost through which I can understand like this would be the cost for my resource deployment, which I'm going to deploy for my particular project. Pricing is available as storage pricing. As I told you, there are storage classes. So in different storage classes, there would be different pricing and there would be different conditions. Like there would be minimum object size, there would be minimum object duration, there would be retrieval fees, there would be monitoring fees. So which depends on your storage class. So whatever storage class you have selected in S3, as per your storage class, you will get the bill. Request pricing. So a request for accessing your content, for accessing your objects, there would be pricing for request, there would be pricing for data transfer, there would be pricing for a region transfer as well. So data transfer pricing, data transfer outside of Amazon S3, there would be pricing. So these are the factors which will affect your S3 pricing. Now let me come to demonstration, where we are going to do a small demonstration. I'm going to show you how you will create one S3 bucket. So this would be a quick demonstration. So let me show you how you will do this. So let me switch to my AWS account and let me give you one introduction to this UI which we are getting. So once when you will sign into your AWS account, so you will be redirected to this page. So this would be your home page, you can say. Now there is a search bar which you can see. So follow my cursor. In center, I have one search bar where if I don't know, like if you will see here in center, we have all services tab, where I can expand this alt of services tab, and I will get the services which is related to infrastructure admin, which is related to DB admin, which is related to backup admin, which is related to DevOps engineer, which is related to machine learning engineer, which is related to AI also. So AI professionals, which is related to developers. So you will get all the services here. There would be categories which you can see here, like I will get compute resources under compute category, I will get database resources under database category. So you can select your resource, you can search your resource from here, your service from here. If I don't know and I need one faster result, faster output for my resource which I'm going to deploy, simply you can search your resource here. You will get the resource, that means the service, as well as the service through the marketplace and documentation related to that service. So like if I need to create S3, I will search S3 here. So you will get an output for S3 related. And you can see these are the outputs which I'm getting here, and I will select my resource as per my requirement through search bar. And then if you will see at left hand side is the services tab. If you will click on drop down, you will be redirected to this page where you can see you same thing you will get here, all services you will get here, and the services which frequently which is accessed by you on your portal, those services will be added into recently visited services. If you are accessing few services frequently, like EC2, like S3, like VPC. So rather than searching and rather than searching those services from the all services tab, what you can do, you can add those services into favorite tab. So you can see if I will move my cursor on any service, I will get one star here. If I will select the star, this service will be added into favorite tab. So I don't need to search my service. I need to go to services tab where I will get my resource under this favorite tab. So I can add my resources which I am accessing frequently. Here you will get the cloud shell. You can see here there is a cloud shell panel. So where you will get the console where you can run the commands. So you will get the bash commands which you can run, through which you would be able to access or manage your resources. So this would be a management tool here. So rather than using your local CLI, and if your system is not compatible, your OS architecture is not compatible with AWS CLI tool, so you can use this shell where you can run your commands. Now there's a bell icon where you will get the notifications. There's account ID where you will get your account name, and if you need to check your billing, you can click on drop down where you will get your billing dashboard, through which you would be able to see your billing, and you will get your account ID as well, which you can use for your deployments. So if you're going to automate something, if you're going to authenticate other users as well, or if other account has to authenticate your user, so they need your account ID. So you can use your account ID for authentication purpose, where you can create tokens through which you can authenticate your users. Then you would be able to select your region here. So under drop down, you can see there are regions which you will get. Right now we have 28 regions, launched regions, which you can select from here. So you can select any region from here. There's a support tab where you can, if you are facing any issue related to billing, related to any resource, or if you are not able to delete any resource and you want some help, you can create support ticket from here, which will be dependent on your subscription, that is your license, so which you're using for your console. And as per your license, you can create one support ticket and you will get one response from AWS support team, and they will guide you how you will delete. Like, let me give you one example. Like I have created one Glacier. So if I need to delete that Glacier, just because deleting Glacier is a complex and a challenging task here in AWS, and I need to check how to delete Glacier, just because whatever data I will store, there would be charges, and I'm getting monthly billing for my Glacier resources. So how I will delete? Simply I will create one support ticket. Otherwise I can discuss with someone from my team. So if they also don't know how to do this, I will simply create one ticket so to AWS, and AWS will guide me. The professionals will guide you as per your ticket. Let's come to S3. So let me search S3 from here. Let's go to S3 console. So you will be redirected to S3 console where you can configure S3 bucket. So you can see here, first tab from left hand side is bucket. Okay, so as you can see in my portal, my account, I have few existing bucket. But if you need to create one bucket into fresh account, into newly created account, so there's the option. You can see you need to follow my cursor. So there's a create bucket option. You need to click on create bucket and you need to fill up this form. I will give you one basic overview about these tabs and you would be able to understand how you will create one bucket. So you need to give your bucket name here. So whatever bucket name you are going to give here, just because I hope you all remember, S3 is accessible through HTTP and HTTPS. If this will be accessible through HTTP and HTTPS, that means it will use some DNS name. That's why that is accessible through internet. So if it will use some DNS name, if there would be some DNS binding, it means whatever name I'm going to use for my bucket should be globally unique. So you need to give one globally unique name here through which you can specify your bucket. Correct. So I need to give one globally unique name, and my name would be would be reside in. I can use here minimum 3 or maximum 63 characters to specifying a name here, and you can see these conditions. So bucket name must be unique, as I told you, must not contain spaces. So you cannot contain space. You cannot contain upper letters, so you need to use lowercase, lower letter here for specifying your name, correct? And you cannot use hyphen also. You cannot use space also for specifying your name. Let me give one name here. So let me use Cognixia here and let me give some random number so that this will become one unique name. So let's give this a random number. Then you need to set your AWS region, just because if you remember, pricing is dependent on your region in which you are going to create this bucket. So in dropdown, you will get your all regions. Let me go to US East, just because I'm connected to US East region through my VPN. Correct. Here you can see VPN is running here and I'm connected through US East region so that I will not face latency if I'm deploying something into US East region. Then there's the option choose bucket. If you will choose bucket, that means there would be some existing bucket and I need to create same bucket properties. I need to use same bucket properties on my new bucket. So I can use same options, same setting which I have used on my existing bucket, same setting I can use on my newly created bucket also, and bucket which I'm going to create. But right now we need to assume we do not have any new bucket now, just because your bucket will be accessible through HTTP and HTTPS. So that means this will be exposed to internet users. So you need to apply some security. So you can see by default your bucket will be a private bucket. When I'm saying private, it means owner who have created this bucket would be able to access content of your bucket. Rest no one would be able to access your bucket. So there would be public access which will be by default disabled on your bucket. Later, you can enable this and you can authenticate your users through ACL or through policies. Where you can create ACL and you can create policies through which you can authenticate your user to access your content through web. Bucket versioning, which is a S3 feature here. So if I need to maintain versioning for my resources, for my objects, so and it which will prevent from accidental deletion as well. So if my data will be, if my object will be accidentally deleted and my bucket versioning feature would be enabled, so I will get multiple versions through which I can restore my previous version object as well as if my object is deleted accidentally with my user whom with my bucket is shared, so I would be able to restore that as well. So which you would be able to learn into AWS courses. Now scroll down, you can specify one tag. Now what is tag? Tag would be one metadata. So this would be one metadata which will define, like it will describe why you are going to use this bucket, and you can specify your description as a key and value. So you can create one tag here where for my bucket I can create maximum 50 tags. So for bucket I can create maximum 50 tags, and if I'm going to upload objects inside this bucket, again I can apply tag to my objects as well, where I can associate 10 tags to my object. So 10 tags to object and 50 tags to your bucket, which you can assign as a metadata through which you can describe. Like I'm going to use this bucket for my Cognixia project. So I will create one tag where my tag value would be, tag name would be my project, and my value would be Cognixia. So I would be able to understand that this resource I'm going to use for Cognixia project. And later, if I need to check consolidated billing, if I need to apply some policies, I can use this tag to get the consolidated billing for this resource through tags. So tags are a most important feature into to cloud service, where you would be able to audit your resource, you would be able to apply policies, you can take backup of your resources through tag, you will get the consolidated billing for your resources through tag. So, but again, this is optional feature here. Optional, you can use default encryption. By default, encryption would be disabled here, but as per your compliance rule, you can encrypt your data, which would be in rest. So data in rest will be encrypted by AWS if you will enable this feature, and there would be charges for enabling this feature. Next, advanced setting. In advanced setting, you would be able to see here there is an object lock. What it does mean by object lock? Object lock, which is by default disabled. So if I'm going to enable this feature, so whatever objects I'm going to store inside my S3 bucket, they all will be locked. So that is called here write once, read many. No one would be able to delete my object. So it will prevent you from accidental deletion. So accidental deletion, it will prevent you. So if this feature will be enabled, no one will be able to delete any object inside your bucket. So you would be able to upload your object, then you once it will be uploaded, you can read many times. So these are the tabs which you need to manage. You need to select as per your requirement, then you can click on create. So whenever you will click on create, so if your name is not available, like I'm getting an error here, so let me check one error, why I'm getting this error. So the request bucket name is not available, as I told you, just because whatever name I'm going to use here, so this would be a globally, this name should be globally unique name. So if I'm going to use any existing name, so my bucket creation will be failed. Let me use my name here, Cognixia Sanjay, and 8761. Now let's try this name. It should be unique name. Click on create, and I hope this would be available. So that is available here, and you would be able to see my bucket is created here. So your bucket will be created here. You will get your reason in which reason your bucket is created. You will get the access level, which is private right now. So bucket and objects not public, it means that is private right now. And creation date, if you have to manage and upload your data, you need to select your bucket. You will be redirected to your bucket section, where you can see these are the tabs through which I can manage my bucket. I can get metric of my resources, my storage transition, my objects, and my objects is as well. So everything I will get, that is analytics, permissions, and static website hosting features, like versioning, static website hosting, and ACL. So all those features I will be able to manage through this. I would be able to manage, get the management feature where I can use replication. I can create one lifecycle rule. I will get the inventory. I can create access point through which I can create multiple permissions for multiple access point, for multiple user, for multiple resources. These are the tabs which will take almost 1 day or almost 3 to 5 hours to explain each and every tab and services. Now from objects tab, very first tab, which is object tab, where you would be able to upload your objects from your local system. So if I need to upload something, I will click on upload, where I will get a chance to upload complete folder or a single object. Let me click on add files. So let me select here one file. I'm going to select one JSON script. Let me select this JSON script. Let me open this. So this would be my script, my object, which I'm going to upload here, and type is JSON, and size is 616 byte. Scroll down here. Destination would be this bucket, and you will get permissions. What would be your default permission? You will get default permission here, which you can change, or you can change later as well. You will get the properties, and the properties you will get your storage classes. These are the storage classes. By default, storage class would be standard, and they all have different features, which I am not able to describe right now just because of time limitation. Then encryption, again, you can encrypt your data you can implement encryption keys where you can use default encryption, you can use a custom encryption as well, which is known as customer managed key. And you can apply tag to your object, and I can apply 10 tags as compared to bucket. On bucket, maximum tag value would be 50. Here, maximum bucket tag, maximum object tag value would be 10. So 10 tags I can associate to my object. Metadata through which you can it would be similar to a tag here, but yes, for each object there would be different purpose of your object. So through which you can describe through metadata, like this would be one JSON file. So I can describe through the metadata, like this is a JSON script which I'm going to use for my deployment on CloudFormation. So which you can specify through metadata. Let me click on upload. So whenever I will click on upload, this will be uploaded here. We go back to my objects tab where you would be able to see your object is uploaded here, and you would be able to see your type, your last modified date, and your size and your storage class. So all information you will get on this tab. So that is a quick introduction about S3, and I hope that is clear to all of you. Thank you. Thanks to joining this webinar. Thanks to everyone who have joined this webinar. Bye bye. Take care.